Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to everyone for joining the UCLA Anderson Executive Dean's Virtual. I think we're all getting used to the virtual now, so information session. We want to thank you all for being here. This is a good group, and we're so excited to be able to share this program information with you. So with that said, I'm sure many of you have already interacted with our wonderful staff, but if not, I want to do a quick introduction. I'm Sarika. I'm the Executive Director of the Executive MBA Admissions Program. Christina Morentes is Senior Associate Director. She's waving over there. Ellen Min is our Admissions Manager. And Shannon Bell is the Director of Strategy for Admissions and Marketing. So we are here to help you and answer any questions that you have as you go through the application process. And with that said, I want to talk about our Dean, our Associate Dean for the Executive MBA and Fully Employed MBA programs, Gonzalo Freixes. Gonzalo is an adjunct professor at UCLA Anderson and a lawyer who specializes in tax law. So at Anderson, he actually teaches classes in law, international law, and tax. He will also actually be giving a lecture on COVID and the law a little later this month. So please do be on the lookout for that. We'd love for you all to attend and get to highlight all the interesting things that Gonzalo has to say. So with that said, introduce Gonzalo.
Hi, everybody, and welcome. We'd love to have you here for our information session, and hopefully you get to find out a little bit more about the program. And welcome to the EMBA family. It is quite a collaborative group. We like to call it a family, and you'll find that one of the key advantages to enrolling in this program is the Rolodex, as you're going to have, and I know I'm dating myself with that. What I'd like to do is just tell you a little bit about the program. And then I will turn things over to Christina Morentes, who will introduce to you some of our alumni who will tell you more from the recent student perspective. And then all of us will be available to answer any questions that you have. So why don't we get started with the next slide, please? So first things, kind of important to know when you should apply. And so we do have application rounds, if you will, in our Executive MBA program. Round 1 is December 1st, and as you can see, rounds 2 and 3 will be in February and March 1st of next year. Generally speaking, you can apply to any of the rounds. Some people sometimes ask, well, gee, is there an advantage to applying first? And our admissions staff will always tell you, no, there's really no advantage. And well, they're wrong. There's a teeny tiny little advantage, just so you know. We do have different schedules options, and once in a while, those schedule options will sell out by the end of the year, at least one of them. And so if you do apply in the earlier rounds, you usually get your pick of schedules. So, and plus, we like having people apply early, because then it gets really busy towards the end of the year. And then we will give you a decision within 60 days, usually earlier than that. But you should know that we like to refer to our admissions process as a rolling admissions, so that generally speaking, if you apply ahead of those deadlines, we will give you a decision earlier than these dates. So really you can apply anytime, but maybe build your plans around one of those key deadlines. Next slide, please. So let's talk about our program and our programs, because we actually have 2 Executive MBA programs that are very, very different. Our traditional program is the UCLA Anderson Executive MBA program. It's a 22-month program, just under 2 years, starts in September in the fall and will end in June of the 2 years hence. And we have 2 schedule options that you can choose from, and we'll look at the curriculum in a minute. One is the biweekly schedule, where you attend classes every other weekend, usually from Friday late afternoon to Saturday late afternoon. And then we will also offer many times Sunday electives, so you can spend the weekend here every 2 weeks. And then we have a monthly schedule. The monthly schedule comes to campus once a month for the weekend, same time frames. And then in between those monthly visits, they do work asynchronously. And what that means is you will watch videos, do assignments, work with your study groups on your own time, that the faculty will film these videos in our studio and then release them to you to watch catch as catch can. So it's a really good program for those of you whose work schedule is not going to allow them to come every 2 weeks, who need that flexibility to watch these things at 7 in the morning or after the kids go to sleep at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. And then we have our wonderful program with the National University of Singapore. NUS is one of the top schools and business schools in Asia. And we've had this wonderful partnership now for a couple of decades. It's a 15-month program, and the schedule's very different. It's modular, and it meets for 2 weeks at a time in different cities in LA and parts of Asia. Specifically, we meet twice in Singapore, twice in Los Angeles, and then we go to 2 cities in China, Shanghai and Shenzhen, and 2 cities in India, Bangalore and Mumbai. So you really get to learn about business in Asia and the Pacific Rim, focused on US-Asia trade. And you're taught by half of the faculty is from the US, half of the faculty is from the US, from UCLA. So it's a great program for those of you that do a lot of international trade or are looking to expand international trade into Asia, and you want that focus. Yeah. So next slide, please. Let's look at the curriculum of our traditional program. Our traditional program, and a few years ago, this was a lot more blue and a lot less yellow. And what that means is your blue is your core classes. These are the traditional classes that you take in most MBA programs or EMBA programs, where you spend time with some of our top research faculty, because for most of these core classes, you're taught by top UCLA research faculty in clusters like you might expect: marketing, accounting, microeconomics, looking at things like operations and strategy, organizational behavior. Weaved throughout that is a leadership program that I'll talk about in a minute. And then you have 2 special programs: our global immersion, which we call our international business residency. This is a required global program where we do some pre-classes at UCLA, and then we take the group to 1 or 2 cities in a foreign country or region of the world, and you learn about business in that part of the world. Sometimes we specialize, so we might look at technology or entrepreneurship and all of that. Obviously, these are under suspension right now because of the COVID situation. And so we have postponed the current classes program till next June. And we do hope that we'll be able to travel by the summer of 2021, and certainly by 2022 when you would be doing this program. And understand that in addition to these core classes, we have a capstone program. We have a master's thesis. And your master's thesis is you take everything you've learned in these core classes and you apply it to a real world project. That project can be a consulting project for an organization or company, and it could be a large company like an IBM or AT&T, a small company you've never heard of, or a government or nonprofit organization. And then you will pursue doing primary and secondary research regarding the marketplace for these companies in order to meet a strategic goal of the company that is laid out up front and negotiated by the team and the company. It's a 6-month program, and it is one of the pillars of UCLA's MBA. We've been doing this for more than 50 years. And then you'll have a chance to take electives. And there's no limit on the number of electives you can take, but you must take 3 to graduate. Most of our EMBA students take a lot more than 3. So we do have EMBA-specific electives that will be on Sundays typically, although sometimes they will be a companion to one of the classes, so they'll be on Friday night and Saturday. Those are in yellow, so we'll have such subjects as negotiations, business law, corporate finance. We also have specializations that you can pursue or certificates. We've listed some of the EMBA certificates below in such areas as global management, entrepreneurship, and finance. But beyond that, you can also take specializations with our fully employed MBA program, our part-time program, which has additional specializations in areas such as healthcare, entertainment, and real estate. And because when you're here as students, you can take any additional elective classes that you want um, with the FEMBA or even full-time program or even other courses at UCLA itself, say at the School of Public Health or at the law school, which some of our students do. And then in addition to all of these courses and our global immersion electives, by the way, so in addition to the international business residency, you can also participate in between every quarter you're here, starting in spring quarter of your first year with global immersions. We do about 7 of these a year through our Center for Global Management, where we teach you about a part of the world, and then we go there to have speakers, business visits, and cultural activities to get to know that part of the world and how business is conducted there. In addition to that, we have about 9 or 10 exchange partners with top business schools around the world, like London Business School, ESAB in Barcelona, University of Melbourne, University of Tel Aviv, where you can go and take classes there for a week. And then in August, we have a 1-week block of electives every summer. And all the international students from these programs, they'll come in small numbers and join you to take electives with you. So it's kind of like our international week. So lots to offer. Let's move on and talk a little bit about leadership development and what we might do for you professionally in terms of career guidance and counseling. So we have a very robust leadership program, as you might expect for an executive MBA. You'll start the program with a 1-week, must take the week off from work, one of the few times you have to do that, leadership foundations, where you will be exposed to different aspects of leadership and self-awareness of so you can learn more about yourself so that you can become a better manager and a better leader. Additionally, at the beginning of every quarter, we will have 5 hours of additional leadership foundations where we bring in speakers, some of our top faculty, to focus on specific areas. So it might be on patterns of problem solving with Dr. Furstenberg, who's one of the favorite professors at UCLA. Or it might be such things as negotiations, communications, or ethics, diversity, and inclusion, which is obviously a big focus of the school right now. In addition to that, we have leadership speakers every quarter. And so we'll have CEOs or other top executives from firms, mostly large, sometimes medium, to come and talk about what are the trends that are happening in leadership in these companies around the world. And then we do like to focus on executive communication and executive presence, and we'll have a lot of workshops for you on that issue. And then Anderson itself has Leadership at Anderson, which is a mentor-driven program that has been implemented across all our MBA programs, and you can also participate in that. Whole lot of leadership. And then finally, our career professionals. We have certified executive coaches who will work with you with our EMBA Career Services team to help you reach your goals professionally, whether that's changing to another career or industry, whether it's advancing in your own current company. As things come up like promotions and you want to help with negotiating your salary for your promotion, building up a good resume, all of those kinds of things, our career services counselors and specialists are here for you. And they will offer a lot of workshops and assessment tools to help you advance in your career and reach your goals, which many of our students do get that dream job or that position they want to be in. And so that is a very unique part of our program that we're very proud of. So anyways, in a nutshell, that's our program. We might, I'll reiterate again that right now we're remote, but we do hope to, by the time you come here next fall, to be fully live instruction by fall of 2021. But we are going to be reserving the right to each of you that if at any point in time you would like to participate remotely in any classes, you may do so. because of the current situation and people's different family situations. So we do have that option. We do want you to come to campus, but we're not going to force you to come to campus. So that's it. I am going to turn things back over to Cristina Manentes, and she will introduce our illustrious panel of recent alums, all of whom I know and some of whom I had the pleasure of traveling on these global immersions and international business residencies. Thank you, and I'll be staying here for questions at the end. It's good to see you.
Thank you, Gonzalo. Appreciate that. Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am going to go ahead and introduce our wonderful alumni panel. I'm going to take this slide off so that you can see the panelists kind of in a bigger screen as they talk. James Cho, Shefali, Javier, Nina, oops. I see you all here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this PowerPoint off. And we'll go ahead and start off with James. We'll go in this order. James, Shefali, Javier, then Nina. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your career path so far?
Absolutely. Thank you, Christina, and to the staff and everyone. Good morning, everyone. First of all, honored to be here and thank you for the opportunity to share. Name is James Cho. I'm currently residing here in Washington, D.C. Been in active duty as a civil engineer and for my whole career, and with a primary with an operational focus. And so it's a little background about me. Originally from New York City. When I started the program, I was actually in California for the first year, and then my second year was actually when I actually ended up relocating out here to Washington, D.C. And then obviously then the whole pandemic situation occurred. So looking forward to definitely discussing more and sharing more this morning. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shefali Dua. Thank you so much, Christina and team, for having me here today. What an opportunity and what a big turnout. I am currently working as the strategic deals leader for Genpact. And by the way, I will be transitioning to AWS later this month as a senior business development manager there. I am originally from New Delhi, grew up there, also did part in Saudi Arabia, part New Delhi. Started my career with Accenture in technical consulting, worked with HP Enterprise Services, worked with Microsoft a lot, and then transitioned to Genpact during my EMBA. That's when I got in touch with them. And it's been a fantastic journey here. I was an architect before I joined college, and after EMBA, I got the chief of staff role, the business development role right after, and this new opportunity has also been possible because of UCLA and played a role. So yeah.
I'm on it. Hello, guys. My name is Xavier Jauregui. I'm an EMBA 2020. I live here in Los Angeles, and I guess I could describe my career as pre-MBA. I'm an electronics engineer by trade, computer and electronics, and I've been working in engineering management for some time. That is until I joined the program. Since I joined the program, I have moved into a new position as a strategy director for the global robotic business for an automation company. I work on a startup that has been recently funded, and I'm also in the, I have joined 2 private equity firms as technology consultant.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Nina Patnala. So a brief introduction. So thanks for having me here. I've started off my career as a software engineer, worked in the tech industry for 15 plus years. And I've been working as a tech manager when I joined UCLA EMBA program back in 2017. And right now I am with Amazon. I am leading the product and tech teams to optimize their global indirect supply chain.
Thank you all. Thanks. So nice to see you all. I'm going to go ahead and go on to the next question here. If you can tell us, why did you decide to get your MBA and why did you choose Anderson? And we can start off, let's see, just to not complicate things, we'll start off with Nina.
Sure. So why MBA? So I wanted to be a better decision maker. I was a tech manager. I quickly realized that I had several gaps into understanding of which direction the business is driving us. So I really wanted to kind of get those tools in my toolkit. So MBA was the answer. And to be very honest, I didn't actually research any other program. UCLA reputation precedes it. So that's the only program that I applied for. And thankfully I got it. And if I were to invest a lot of time and money, UCLA was the program in SoCal that I considered. So, and right now, just to quickly wrap up, so I used to manage only tech teams pre-MBA. Right now, I'm managing non-tech teams on the product side and the program side as well. So it enabled me to be a better business leader as well.
Thank you, Nina. All right, we'll move backwards now to Javier.
Sure. So for many years, I was working in management, either as a director or later on as a VP of engineering. And as much as I tried, I couldn't shake the tech aspect of my career. I wanted to move into the business side. I wanted to do more of the strategy side of the business, at least on the corporate side. At the same time, I was starting to work with startups. I had joined a startup team and we started working on pitches to investors. And to be quite honest, things were not going very well. So I realized I had some blind spots, whether I wanted to grow more into the business side of the corporation, or if I started my own business or my own startup, there were lots of gaps in my knowledge on how to put together a term sheet, how to do the business side of the startup, not the technical side. So that's the reason I joined. And quite honestly, it worked out very well. Now, why UCLA? I visited other campuses, other prestigious universities. Being in the tech industry, I thought, for example, that Berkeley was another good option for me. What I really appreciated about UCLA, other than the fame and reputation, was the fact that it was very diverse in terms of the background of the student body. If I would have if I would have gone to a different type of school, I would have been just one more of the people that does something that is very general nowadays. Tech is very general. At UCLA, I had exposure to all sorts of fields. I learned about the food industry. I learned about you name it, every industry you can think of, and it was all because of my cohort. So that was one of the biggest values why I chose UCLA.
Awesome. So I think I had, similar things to what Nina and Javier shared. At one point in my career, I felt like I had a very accelerated growth path as an engineer. So, you quickly get to architect, you quickly get to manager. But then I felt like, if I were to get to C-level, what are those guys doing differently? So I was kind of inspired by the C-level executives in my company and some of the others that I had worked with. And one common theme was, no matter which country they came from, no matter which city they came from, 90% of them had a top university MBA degree. And there was a difference in experience when you were working with a person with such kind of credentials versus a pure engineering degree. And I saw myself in the future to become a global leader. And I did think that, I had gaps in my experience in working with, have I worked with Asia more? Have I worked with Europe more or not? Have I seen LATAM? And I did experience some of the Americas with my current jobs, but I had not looked at other geos. And UCLA gave me the opportunity to get exposed to these countries, not just from an academic perspective, but from an experiential perspective as well. Get taught from those professors, look at their startups, their tech industries, and the same diversity of the cohort and the professors that were teaching us was super inspiring. And by the way, any part of the world I spoke about UCLA, everyone knew that, so that definitely helped. There was one more aspect to it, the way UCLA structured their program, where I could do the monthly one, really worked with my schedule. And these programs in most other universities are anywhere from 3.5 to 4 years long. And UCLA was able to not give us any breaks and everything, make 2 years tight, but you graduate in 2 years, which sounded like a reasonable commitment while keeping your job and everything in line. And it was just 50 miles in my 50 miles radius. And I felt very fortunate that, okay, this checks all the boxes for me. And just went from there. I did check out a few others. I did check out UCI. I did check out Wharton. But the campus experience with Wharton was not there. And I knew I wanted to go to more and more conferences and not just the course and make the most out of my degree. And then UCI was more engineering versus leadership, management, and business leadership was much sharper over here. I spoke to the alums as well. And some of the peers, there was a little bit of peer pressure to, okay, let's go to UCLA because, a lot of my friends had also gone, and that also played a factor. But all in said, that is what was going on in my mind before when I decided to pursue the degree here.
So I absolutely echo everything my peers have shared. I think in addition, I like to think that those who are interested in the program, those who have been in the program, we're also big believers in just continuously self-improving and continuously learning. And for us to, and for me, it was about being a more effective leader, being more impactful, whether it's in a personal or professional setting, making a difference in the respective communities and societies that we're living in. So that was kind of one of the driving reasons for me. In terms of what attracted me to Anderson, as I already shared as my respective peers, in addition to all the great things that the program provides in support of each individual's purposes and goals, hands down, it's the people. It's the diversities, the networking opportunities, and really it's just coming down to absolutely the theme of people that I've got a chance to meet. In the beginning, it was just a brief moment in time. Alumni and other cohorts who were interested, as well as also the staff, and of how just each and every person that I came across was absolutely going above and beyond to ensure the experience was going to be fulfilling, and absolutely was. And so look forward to sharing about that here in the next hour.
Thank you all. I know a lot of times now as potential applicants are thinking about this journey of the MBA, they're wondering, how am I going to do this? I have work, I have life, I have all of these other time commitments. How did you manage your work, school, life balance? How did you fit this into your schedule? And we'll go again with Nina. I guess we could just work our way back up. Nina, then Javier, Shefali, then James.
Sure. So to be honest, initially it was very challenging, to manage both work, life, and school. So it took me at least, I want to say, a quarter to adjust to a routine. And being disciplined, having set study hours allocated, and having a routine was key to be successful. And also time boxing stuff, not knowing that you have an hour to get through stuff at work or at school, and it needs to be done in an hour. So I think time boxing is a technique that I used and helped me stay on track for a lot of things. And I think we're going to get more into it. The monthly program, they really helped me. I didn't have to be on campus every week, so it was just once a month. So that was very helpful for my work schedule and other things that were going on. So
Yeah, and I won't deny that it is a lot of work, especially when you start the first quarter. You go into a new situation and you try to figure out, hey, how am I going to do this? And it may seem really daunting, but then you learn really quick how your capability for expanding your capacity for work and how resilient you can be really kicks in. By the second quarter, you realize, hey, I can actually do this. I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move that there. I'm going to have to create some sort of schedule, and you manage. But what's more important is that you have to remember that you come into this program thinking that you're going to have to do this on your own, but you're not going to do it on your own. Your cohort and your friends become such an integral part of your experience that you can rely on them to help you go through this. So you'll never be alone. Some weeks you may not be able to do your homework. Quite honestly, like you may be traveling, you have a business meeting, you just cannot turn it in. There's always going to be a helping hand saying, hey, let me help you. Let's do it together. Or the group will take care of this deliverable and you have to pay back the next time. And so you're not by yourself. The group and your cohort will help you go through this.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I was expecting a baby as soon as I joined the college. So Leadership Foundations, the first block, I had to get that done, and then it finished on Saturday, and Monday is when the second baby came. So it was quite a challenge for me, and with my kids and other commitments, and then getting everything done. But there's a saying in my family that you should test your true test of marriage is when you have kids, and then you will see that can you work as a couple together. But I throw an MBA in there and make it challenging for me, and then let's see how it goes. So but anyway, so the way it was that when I was not having a kid, I was pretty much traveling a lot, and I thought this would be the only time I'm already grounded. How can I make the most use of some time off and some off time back home? And I'm so glad I did it. There was so much support from the cohort, from the EMBA office. I know they switched even the location of my class to somewhere which was nearer to the nursing mother's room. So, just saving a little time. And I did not drive the entire 2 years. I took Uber. That would save me 60 minutes, would finish an assignment on the way, or maybe just sleep. And you have to you'll become time optimization ninjas when you come out of this. And humans are so resilient, so resilient. You have to test yourself with this to see, what your supernatural powers are. And I must say that, I would, before me, when I spoke to some of the other seniors who had both husbands and wife had done EMBAs, and I would, they would tell me about their routine. And I was like, these guys might be so much in love that they're supporting each other. It's never going to happen with me and my husband. That is not true. Take it through. You will grow as a couple. When you know how much you're paying for it, what you're getting out of it, it just becomes like a family mission to get through. Get your neighbors involved, share your experiences, maybe invite them to some awesome dinners that Christina and team throw, and shower them with love and affection. Make sure that when you're an EMBA, you have taken care of your family with a nanny or a play date or something like that, so they're happy while you're happy as well. And that would, and when you are in class, you time box and say, okay, I'm going to enjoy this as much as possible, and go from there. And by the way, so as soon as I finish, my husband is now in the EMBA program, And I think I convinced him that it's the right thing to do. So, and supporting role is a tougher role, then you will enjoy your experience in UCLA so much. But just remember, it's harder for the person who's back at home. So care for them, get them a gym membership, make sure that they're having their own play dates, and everything will be just fine. Yeah.
Well, after that, I think I had it very easy. I mean, absolutely. I think that's one of the most incredible things, just experiencing the journey of the past 2 years with someone like Shefali and other classmates of mine who literally just was balancing their families and everything else. And so every one of them has my utmost respect. Just on this note, first of all, if you're thinking about this and if this is something that's crossing your mind, whether of you not desiring to come into the program, every one of us will tell you that the experience is so worth it, undoubtedly. It doesn't mean that it's not going to be challenging, but I think that's why each and every one of you have interest in being where you're at today, wanting to be better leaders, improved leaders, and to be more effective. And I think kind of balancing your workload, your life, family, I think it's going to be a continuous focus and a challenge throughout our careers and lives. And I think the more we're able to balance that and juggle the balls around us, I think we will be better and more improved for it. I also believe in terms of I think we all we make time for the things that are important to us by prioritizing. And I think this is one of the things and experiences that through this program of balancing of what provides and that respective benefit. Personally, I think it helped me the way I improved, and I by no means have I excelled in this, but I think one area was by understanding the risks, better understand the risks I was taking. That definitely helped me in terms of my risk management, and also improving my time management skill sets is what also helped me to focus in terms of better managing my balancing my workload between work, school, and life. And then lastly, and what my peers have just also shared, and what Xavier highlighted was to understand that you will not be going through this program alone individually. It's not an individual accomplishment, but it is absolutely a team concept where something's going to be happening, whether in your life or one of your classmates' life, and it's collectively coming together as a team to support one another to ensure that not only are you successful, but that the whole team and the academics and everyone else is successful.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one more question before we hand it over to the audience for their questions. But one last question for you all, and this is kind of a feel-good question, though so far all of your answers have been very feel-good. But what would you say was the most memorable experience of yours from the MBA? And I know for a few of you, your MBA journey just ended a few months ago, and for a few of you, it ended more than a year ago. But if you can tell us your one memorable experience, and you could tell us about your BCO, your master's thesis project, or your electives or certificates, or your global experiences, whatever you'd like to say, maybe one highlight of the program. And we can start off with Nina or whoever's ready. Nina, are you ready?
Sure. It's hard to pick just one memorable item, but there's several actually. So I'm just gonna focus on some of the global immersion travel opportunities that I had. I went to Barcelona with Professor Gonzalo. That was very memorable. We visited a lot of companies, all the way from a family-owned vineyard to a very tech innovation company. So, and it was just so humbling to see the amount of innovation that's happening in Spain. And I had to contrast that with my trip to Japan the following year, and how similar they were, how different they are certain culturally. So, and you do form lifelong network and friendships with your cohort, and that's something that's very valuable. And I don't think I can ever forget some of those experiences during my global immersion travels.
Yeah, and I'm sure my colleagues here are going to have the same problem. Christina, that's almost an impossible question to say one thing that you can remember, because honestly, it's a life-changing experience. That said, the first thing that comes to mind is the global immersion program. Mainly because you get exposed to some things that you don't usually get exposed to, right? And in my case, I did an exchange program with ESAB in Barcelona, and not only I met a whole new cohort of people that I became friends forever, but I also visited the city, networked, met recruiters that also enabled my future career path. So that I would say was one of the most memorable experiences for me.
Awesome. By the way, Nina was talking about me. I was part of her cohort, and I will never let you forget that. So, okay. Yes. So, a couple of things that, stand out for me. One was my trip to Brazil. And over there, we had a chance to speak to the VP of Commercial Aviation, who shared his story about, how he was able to make it in Embraers. He spoke about, it's a very senior position, and he talked about, what it took to sell planes to state dignitaries, something, many of us would never get to do. But, he's like, he came from Ireland to Brazil. And in a recent update, like after EMBA, we saw now he's the CEO of that GE Aviation division. And when he spoke about his story, and he started his pitch by saying, when you go through my facility today, you will smell the kerosene. And the only thing you'll remember when you go back is, how can I sell a plane? And he gave a very passionate speech about, why selling planes is so important to him for his company and everything else. And what I learned from that experience is that, these people have given like significant amount of, their work of body, and develop themselves to get to these jobs, and which came with a lot of sacrifice. And we should not, put these mental boundaries on ourselves. And, I would have never got to hear from him had it not been the EMBA program. When I came back and I'm working on my PowerPoint for my job, and like, I wish I had a plane to sell. It'd be so much more exciting. So, every time when I come to like a critical decision, I think of, okay, if I was him, how would I think? How would I make the line bigger? And it's just those instances that, it gives you a different perspective to look at the same problem and come at it with a much bigger way, and develop your executive intel and executive IQ, and go from there. The next one was, I had a chance to also visit China and Paris. So the working styles themselves over there was like, they talked about, China was a completely different ballgame altogether. We got to visit Tencent. The lobby experience itself, a bot welcomed us. We patted, and we could get like drinks out of it, and we patted back, and it would go to the next person who came to the lobby. Very digitalized, and it just blew us out of our mind. We had not seen something like that before. And they talked about a 996 culture, which means like, let's work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. And that's a lot, but that's what they are willing to do to uplift their country and get to a developing country, and the kind of inputs that they're putting in, it just inspires you to work harder, inspires you to look for different things and go from there. And the third memorable moment, and the last one, is with Professor Gonzalez. Tax scared the hell out of me. I'm an engineer by definition, and his class was so hilarious, so hilarious. I still remember the opening question in his first class, and it was like, which was the best year to die? So, and then apparently there was a estate tax that was, nullified in a particular year. And I'm sorry, I don't remember the year now, but that was the best year to die. And
I'm so ashamed, Shefali. Now I'm forgetting. It was 2010.
2010. Like, she beat it.
Because there was no estate tax for 1 year. It was a 1 year special on death.
And he made taxes so interesting and fun. And by golly, I am not afraid of anything, because, I just, finance would scare the hell out of me, and taxes especially. But the way they delivered the message, it felt like, okay, this is not completely uncharted. I can correlate. I can understand how it applies to my work. And as a business leader, I feel more confident that, yes, I can do this end to end. When you become CEO, you cannot say that you cannot play the ignorant card. You're supposed to know finance, you're supposed to know law, you're supposed to know a wide variety of things. And this is what EMBA will provide you the feeding ground on.
I think this question and this discussion reminds me of a quote. It says, "Fill your life with experiences, not things. Have stories to tell, not stuff to show." And I think as we have all shared, I think the common theme of our experiences and my experience has just been people. And actually starting off with you, Christina, right? The first time being interviewed by you and getting a chance to meet you and get to know your respective story, and that opportunity to talk about, which is still something that's very clear in my mind, in my first opportunity of meeting someone from the program. And then also, as my peers have shared, is all the global immersion trips. Went to Colombia, Paris, and India. And where 2 out of those 3, I also had the fine pleasure and benefit to be with Professor Dean Gonzalo there. So, I think not only getting a chance to see, having these international experiences from a business perspective, having networking opportunities there that I would not have gained on my own, but also getting to know my classmates there, and also someone like Professor Gonzalo, who would go out of his way to ensure not only that we would get the professional experience, but also a personal experience in those respective trips. And that's just I think just a taste of not only who he is as an individual, but what the program is like, of how they go out of their way to ensure that each and every one of us are getting the invaluable experience, something that, that becomes priceless. And lastly, I think one of the other experiences is just getting to know my classmates more. I was in the monthly cohort program, and just being able to see, my 60 plus monthly classmates, and then every chance also getting to see the other 60 plus biweeklies, and knowing the fact that everybody has a story to share and talk about, and to get to know. I think those are the experiences that can't be compared, and where I think the program has done an incredible job of bringing such a diverse group of folks and people, where we can continue to just hone each other and help us continue to be better. And I was always humbled every time I got a chance to meet someone from my class and understand their story, of where they've come from, what they were doing, and what their future desire and passion was in terms to the life ahead. And so a lot to share regarding this question, but once again, I think it's definitely comes down to the people.
Thank you. That was wonderful. A lot of takeaways, networking, and one huge takeaway: be sure to go on a global immersion with Gonzalo. We are gonna and thank you, James. I remember it like meeting you like it was yesterday, and all of you, truly. But I'm going to go ahead and pass over the questions to you, to the participants. So how we'd like to do this is you can either raise your hand. There's a raise hand feature on Zoom, so you can either raise your hand, and the raise hand feature is next to your name. If you go to the name, your name on the sidebar, you can raise your hand. You could either raise your hand and ask your question aloud, or we can read your question in the chat and ask the panel. This could be a question for the panel, or it could be a question for admissions or Gonzalo, anyone here, anyone at Anderson. So I'll go ahead and let's see here, see if anyone has a question. Feel free to ask questions. We have about 20 some minutes.
The first question is from Brahma. Would you like to ask your question?
Hi, I'm Brahma, although I'm based in Southern California in Irvine, very close to LA. I've been working in technology for 15 plus years. Very similar background to Shefali and Nina here. I come from engineering background. I feel like I'm stuck in my job as a technology manager, not really getting opportunities for the C-level. It's probably lack of confidence, and lack of tools in my toolkit to go to that level. Listening to you helped me kind of understand what it needs. But I did my master's here. I'm trying to, can you give me some examples, the courses that helped you in this preparation to leadership and business role? Thank you.
Nina, you want to go first? No.
Go ahead, Shefali.
Sure. Okay. So, Brahma, we've all gone through that cycle. We truly empathize with what you're going through. I personally went through that myself. And sometimes it's a time function, and the other is, almost like a continuous improvement cycle of, what else can you learn? And at times it's also about, take a step back and see, okay, at this pace, you're not going to get there. So at least in my mind, when I went to EMBA, yes, C-level was definitely a long-term goal that I had in mind, and I wanted to pick my subjects and the kind of certificates I was going to do, very consciously keeping that in mind. During leadership immersions, I still remember Professor Gonzalo had an excellent case study example where he took us through a lady who takes over a family empire as the CEO after the husband expires, and they plead guilty to some legal fraud, and so they're sued for some fraud, and they're not able to. The wife says that I did not know about this, and we had to deliberate: was she right, was she wrong, what she could have done, almost like a post-mortem analysis. And the answer to that was that you cannot play ignorant at that level. And I think that one line set itself very well for me, that when I entered EMBA, my initial thought was I'll probably do the global immersion certificate because that's what I truly wanted to become. But what I realized was that no, I probably need to learn finance as well. I need to learn entrepreneurship. I need to learn technology management, right? Although I've been in my career as a technologist, there's another level when it comes to another level of business mindset that comes that you need to learn at that level to be effective. And what I know today has not gotten me to C-level, so I have to do things differently. Also, Brahma, the money that we were spending was significant enough. I grew up most of my time in India, and then was fairly recent, few years in America. I wanted to make the most out of my EMBA degree, and I prioritized it. So I made more time to do more certificates. I graduated with almost double the credits. I
Awesome.
did 4 of them:
Okay.
technology management, entrepreneurship, finance, um, and then the global immersion one, right? So some of it you will get as part of the EMBA curriculum. Some, I would say, stretch a little bit, go try a class or 2 out with the full-time guys. Um, and then also, it's also about some of your goals. For me, the grades didn't matter as much. I was looking for a breadth of knowledge,
Yeah.
versus, A grade. Some people want an A grade if you want to do a PhD and everything, or specific, scientific companies that you want to go to. Then the grade matters. Then you might want to optimize on, the number of things that you want to do, and excel in that. There was one guy who did both breadth and depth. So, but he was an outlier, and we're very, very proud of him. But not too many people were able to do that, right? So I'll pause here.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We have another question from Johnny.
Hey everyone, thanks for coming on and giving us your experiences. My question is more around kind of just debating, whether it's worth it to get the MBA. My career is going well. I'm at a VP level, having great experiences, worked in US, worked in Asia for quite some time. And it's really, trying to deal with, family, work, travel, and how do I justify spending, this amount? Realistically, it's kind of like one of the panelists said, it's just like constantly wanting to level up and fix a lot of your, cater to your blind spots, right? And I'm constantly going back and forth, in my late 20s. I thought about getting the MBA and I didn't, and I went over to Asia, worked there, got great experiences, came back to the US, and now, in my 40s, early 40s, it's kind of, it's still there, and it's just like that itch that I want to scratch, but I'm not sure I should, right? So can you guys talk about, your decision-making process in wanting to, if you're okay with your career, other than graduating and hopefully making a decent jump in pay or whatnot, right? Thank you.
Christina, let me take that one. So Johnny, your career path seems very similar to mine. Before I took the program, I was the VP of R&D for the company I work for. And by that time, I had international exposure. I had traveled the world. I had spent a lot of time in different areas, and I thought that my career was successful. One of the main reasons I thought about taking the MBA at that time was to fill in the gap of the financial aspect of my business knowledge, and I'll tell you, I thought that's why I needed the MBA. Once I took the MBA, that became an important part, but just a very small part of the whole experience. Once I took the program, I realized how much I didn't know in other areas and how much I could improve in other areas, all the way from understanding, better understanding leadership, understanding strategy, taking a step back and planning your career, not going with your career, but planning your career, looking at international exposure more from the execution point of view, more into the strategy. Now the world, you're not traveling the world, but you're planning how you're going to expand a global strategy. So I felt that coming into the program, I was successful, and I understood my career. Leaving the program, I'm a completely different person, and I feel like I can take on more opportunities that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to see before the program.
Does anyone else want to take that? Shefali, Nina?
I would just add the cohort as well. So that's not one of the things that you would consider, the network that you're going to gain. in terms of ROI, but that's the most valuable thing. One of the most valuable things that you walk away. It's a lifelong network of your cohort, and as well as the professors. So you can't, for me, like you can't, I didn't consider it going into the program, but that was one of my biggest takeaways.
Yeah, Pinamin, I would also say that, there were, people in their 40s who did join, and they were actually at a VP level. You can pretty much also negotiate a little bit with your company to pay for some of this. And but I had to pay it by myself, but, there was an extra contract, and I was able to get through. There was a student exchange that happened when I was able to go and study in HEC Paris. And there was a global diplomat over there who came and taught us about what it takes to pass a new policy with so many European heads. And they divided our section into like four. One was the NGO, one was the competitor, one was the company. And then, there was one more party, and then one party was the European Union. And how you deliberate through that, how do you quickly read the room, and all key decisions, you prepare for that 2 minute of performance, almost like an athlete, right? And all of that helps. And the way the professor positioned it was almost like diplomacy as a global skill set. And learning by experience is fine. You've traveled with your work a lot, but that academic exposure, which is like a concentrated dose of, okay, a lot of things that you've probably not experienced as a work problem, will truly expand your thinking process. And you will not be working with people of just your profession. You'll be working with real estate agents, a doctor, an engineer. There was academicians, there were nurses, and from AWS, from Google, and everyone looked at the problem in so many different angles. You wouldn't have even thought about it. And it just doesn't end on EMBA, by the way. So I still have book clubs with them. We call meetings every now and then. When Black Lives Matter happened here, we met as a cohort and said, okay, what can we do about it? So it just feels like a safe place, and you will have a better life experience when this is formed. And for me, because I'm an immigrant here, this has been such a God sent gift to me, and I'm so happy about it. But of course, think about it on your side as well. Maybe attend a class or two with the existing cohort, and you'll get a feel for it.
Yeah, I just would add. I mean, the 22 months is an immersion in itself, and so you're bound to be stretched in one way or another. And I share that stretching in a positive way. I think it only increases your capabilities and your capacities as an individual, and also to be able to better balance your workload, your work-life balance, to be a better leader, to be more effective, more efficient. I think in any position that you get a chance to serve in. And so, I think additionally, it also increases your self-awareness as an individual, in understanding and knowing that of who you are as an individual, and getting a deeper understanding of that, and task tailoring to different methods of communicating and dealing with other people, because as shared, you're going to have to, and there's going to be a lot of rosy moments, and there's also going to be a lot of challenging moments with your respective cohorts. But that's part of life, and also it's like a family, operating in a family. And I think and that's how we're able to grow together as a family and individually. And so I know all four of us, in terms of what we share, it may sound a little bit biased in terms of the program, but we're only speaking from our own experiences, and that we've all benefited from it. And absolutely, even though our time ends here today, I'm sure Christina will be able to share with you our respective points of our contact info if you want to have further conversations.
Yes.
I actually wanted to zoom in into what James said. So, as you grow further in your career, I mean, Gen Z is coming in and they have such high expectations. Probably one of the toughest generation to manage, by the way. So the same call for millennials, but it's way above. And the EMBA program will also give you an opportunity to, cross mingle with different age groups as well. And once you've been exposed to, how they think, ways of working, and it's a very different experience from your core EMBA cohort. I got a lot out of it, and I think positioning yourself as a leader for everyone versus a select few is important for a C-level executive, right? So I thought it was a good way to cross network and go from there.
Thank you. And also to James' point, we will be sharing the LinkedIn for everybody here. James, Shefali, Nina, and Javier will be sharing the LinkedIn profiles with you in our follow-up email. We have time for 2, maybe 3 more questions. Next up is Ronke. Ronk?
Yes. Hello. Hi, Christina. Hi. Thank you guys so much for this. I definitely now have about 100 more artists than I did before. But the question I have is, I come from a liberal arts background, particularly media and entertainment, with a focus on comms. And speaking to a lot of people, they've often said to me, listen, we don't think you need to go back to school or do an EMBA to get to where you need to or where you'd like to go in terms of your career goals, particularly because of my industry, entertainment. So I guess my question for you all would be, do you feel that you may have been able to achieve your career goals in terms of advancing your careers without the EMBA? It sounds like, yes, there's a lot of knowledge, that you pick up from the EMBA, but in terms of, say, your career specifically, do you feel like you could have achieved that without the EMBA?
I don't think I would have been able to do that, because right before EMBA, I was in an individual contributor role in Genpact. And then very soon in the middle of the degree itself, I think towards the end of it, I got an opportunity to be the chief of staff of a 9,000 people practice. That's not something you make, a nobody be a part of. And the operating model, you're handling finances, you're looking at the view at a 10,000 feet level, and you're privy to a lot of other information. The ethics, the trust building, the influencing other people, why, you need to make the time to listen to everyone and look at different angles of the story. It prepared me for that role. And I was always, I tried to blog about them, microblog with LinkedIn, on Twitter and stuff like that. In EMBA, you're not going to get like, an in-campus recruitment. It's all about, your cohort will refer you to other positions, or in your existing company, you're aiming for a promotion, right? So as I was blogging about them, my network, my superiors, my peer group did notice the change in me as an individual through that learning journey, right? And making them aware of, okay, I am now changing mold with this degree was equally as important as what I was learning. If no one knows what you're doing, it's not going to change for you, right? Someone has to give you that kind of an opportunity. So I would not have gotten that opportunity. Then I got the strategic deals one. And by the way, my Amazon Web Services job, one of the guys who interviewed me was a graduate from UCLA a year before. So he saw the brick wall behind my picture in LinkedIn, and he had the same picture which UCLA gives. And it was almost like blood calls. He's like, give me a good story so I can help you present you well to my board. And Nina, my classmate, she is from Amazon. She's been there for a very long time. She helped me think through, how should I talk about my stories? And her advice was so point on and important. I would not have done it without the advice of these people. And serendipity plays a factor in your in your career, but you have to increase the odds of that happening. So this definitely helped increase the odds of serendipity happening. A prepared mind will take advantage of it. So, yeah.
Let me add to Shefali from a different perspective. Just looking at the value of the degree, putting personality and net friendship aside, for me, the degree was absolutely fundamental to open doors. And I have 3 examples. One with the private equity groups. Before the program, I used to do operational support for private equity indirectly through somebody else that had the connections with private equity. They would not talk to me directly. With the degree, it automatically opened doors. It got me into the interview. The first thing that the partners would say is, oh, fellow Bruin or Anderson, huh? That was conversation starter. From the point of view of the startup, before the startup, we would go on pitch after pitch after pitch, and it was always we were always received with a lot of skepticism. Post Anderson, immediately it brought some sense of validity, the credibility that we have somebody in the team that had a business understanding. And then the third and final one on the corporation side, it was a rite of passage. I needed the MBA to be able to move into a position of strategy and business development. They look for that as part of their requirements. So in my particular case, it was absolutely fundamental.
Yeah, I guess I'll just add to that, and just in terms of my career goals had changed. Eventually, I was going to be transitioning, respectively from the government, and so no doubt, I know we're getting short on time, but absolutely, it was definitely worth it for me. Increasing the capabilities, more doorways have opened. What I thought I was going to be going into absolutely had transitioned separately to something else because of the opportunities through the networking experience and also enhancing the capabilities. And so, and the fact that you're coming from a liberal arts major, I think that's great in terms of where we're able to see things from different lenses, and that type of experiences that we can continue to gain from one another will definitely not only make the program better, but also each individual.
Thank you, guys. So we have 2 more questions. I see a blue hand raised, and then I have one in the chat. For those of you who need to jump off, we know that we're up on time, so please do feel free to do so. I do want to mention that we have a virtual Q&A coming up later with, hosted by Shannon Bell, who's our Director of Strategy of Admissions and Marketing. We'll put that link in the chat so that if anybody's interested and has any more questions about the program, particularly the logistics and the admissions side, please do feel free to join that as well. So with that said, a couple of questions here. Ryan?
Hi, thank you. Thank you all for sharing your perspectives. It's been really great to hear your stories and your points of view on the program. I come from a marketing and tech background. I'm Bay Area based, and I've been in marketing in the tech landscape for the past 15 plus years. And I'm curious to hear, just sort of going into the program, how well defined were your career goals, and did going through the program alter your career goals in any sort of unexpected ways?
So mine was not as well defined because, I thought I was pretty much at the ceiling already, and I was looking for ideas of, what to do next. And part of that was also because I also wanted to pick, everyone was telling me that, to rise, you really need to pick an industry and then go deeper in it. Just horizontal tech is not going to work. And I did not know which domain I want to go to. So with UCLA, we had lots of conferences where different executives from different parts of industry showed up. So with the Vitals conference, which was all around healthcare. There was the Mimi conference, which was about entertainment and media and sports. So I went there. Then there was a tech conference which just focused on Silicon Valley tech, and a lot of speakers from there came. So for me, it was about, I wanted to look at different, okay, if I get there, how is life when I get there, right? So as I went through it, I pretty much thought that, probably, Eastern tech is where I want to be. And, I kind of had a hunch, but not very clearly defined. And luckily, some of the opportunities that further came were also in that area. And it did help me zone in and see, okay, if this is the path I want to go, and go from there. But in the beginning, I come with a very open mindset to be influenced. There was a banking one that I also went to. And by the way, the sports one was so awesome. The Mimi one, we had the director of Crazy Rich Asians come and give a talk to us. I mean, where would you get someone who'll tell you that his experience of building that kind of a movie, and what he went through? People were very skeptical that is an Asian movie going to even sell, and this is an interesting concept, but no one had done that before in that genre. So he talks about what it took to put things together, but then you also try and cross link it with what are your strength areas, how can you differentiate yourself, right? And it gives you almost like the right tool set to define, okay, this is going to be my lifelong mission, and you go after it.
Ryan, first of all, before the program, I had really no experience and knowledge of marketing. Now that I have a little taste of it, Ryan, thanks for what you're doing in your respective industry. And so I have a greater appreciation of what you do. And thanks for being here and asking us these questions. In terms of, for me, career goal wise, I'd say my career goal in itself did not change. I mean, the goal for me was focused on serving underprivileged children in respective communities. But what I'd say is through the program, what it really heightened and really helped me to understand is the pathway to get there and achieving that goal is different now, where initially I came in thinking of desiring to be plugged into a nonprofit or doing a nonprofit startup. And through the program, it helped me to realize that there are at least for me, just better and different opportunities to be serving in that capacity and fulfilling that goal, where it's transitioned to more of getting involved into a profit-making organization with some respective types of creative share value of serving and supporting that. And so that's for me in terms of, I think, helping to getting a better understanding of that goal that I was still desiring to fulfill and achieve and support, but in many different ways, which I did not realize if it wasn't through the program, not only through the courses and classes, but from the staff as well as also my classmates.
I think for me, the simple answer is yes, it changed. Not only my goals changed, I changed as a person completely. And coming into the program, I thought I would take one more step in the corporate ladder, or maybe I would be doing better with my with any startup or side venture. Today, quite honestly, my life has changed completely. Very likely, the first quarter of next year, I'll be moving to Amsterdam on a completely different area that's more related to the business development and strategy. Now, whether that's the final path, I don't believe so. Having attended school has shown me all these different paths. I've met so many people in school or through school that have shown me that pivoting into other areas is easy, and sometimes people really find their happiness doing that. And most of the time we don't explore other avenues, either because we don't know that there are other avenues or we don't know the channels to those avenues. I think school, at least in my case, has given me that window to be able to see all the possible scenarios and all the possibilities that you can do with your career.
Thank you all. We have one final question. It's a good one. So for all the panelists, during their application process, what part of the process or the application were you worried or concerned about, and what did you do to overcome or address it?
So I was actually quite concerned about, my essays and, and the referral essay that someone else has to write for you. And I was very jittery on, this is a lot of information they're asking. How will they rate me? How will it play into my application and everything? But Christina was so nice, and she guided me all the way through. One advice she gave me which came in very handy, that don't wait for 100% completion on your application to submit it to the EMBA group. It's a conversation. It's not like you've submitted it and then now nothing can happen. Let them take another look and give you some feedback before, you will have an opportunity to, revise and resubmit if required. And this is exactly what I did. I didn't have some of my external referrals almost ready to go, but I had some of the other stuff almost 80% there. And at that point I submitted it, and then you add on to your application and say, okay, this first part is now coming in and this part is now coming in. So getting through that was good. And then they made me feel very comfortable for the follow-up interviews as well. There were a couple of them before you get it admitted, and they have to look at diversity of cohort, origin, and everything else to make sure, they are, and the number of years of experience, what you will contribute to the cohort versus what you take and everything. So this experience is what you make out of it. So it's not just going to be about the college, but it's truly going to be how engaged you are, right? And what you bring, because your cohort is also going to bring a lot of things on their side, whether it comes in terms of opportunities, experiences, new referrals. So they, you want to make sure that they you're also doing your part, showing up and everything else, right? So so I would say that was very good, not being like 100% done, but having a way to get some feedback, revise and resend was a good thing for me. So yeah.
I guess I can go next. For me, it took many years before I applied. And one of the main reasons was because looking at all the requirements and the amount of time I was supposed to invest in applying, for me, it sounded like a really daunting task. I have to thank the 405 for actually applying to UCLA. After many years of thinking, one day I was stuck on the 405 right before the UCLA exit. And I said, you know what, let me go to the admissions office and see how bad is this process. And I stopped, I entered the office, I met Christina. And I'll tell you, it was night and day from staring at a website and looking at all these requirements, just visiting and sitting down with Christina and later on Shannon, and they just walk you through how you can do it, how you can be efficient at it, how do you fulfill some of the requirements. They made it easy. And this cloud of tasks that seemed to be incredibly difficult, they basically dissolved that cloud and made it easy to apply.
Well, Javier, those are not the 405 experiences that I typically have, but that's a blessing. That's great. For me, kind of the opposite spectrum. I applied the week that it was due, and so I had a much more condensed, shorter amount of time, and I shared. I don't know if there's a lot of folks who really love and enjoy writing, and so I think that portion of the application took the longest for me. But I think at the end of the day, I think if my humble advice is just to continue to be yourself, right? And at the end of the day, what you share in the application and those essays, it's your story, and that's a story that nobody else can replace, nobody can duplicate. And that's humble recommendation was to be genuine in terms of why you're desiring to apply and what you're planning on getting out of it. And so that would be just my humble feedback.
I would second that, paint a picture of, what your journey would look like post UCLA. If you had it, what else would you do? How would you create a legacy out of it, right? And with you into the picture, it's share that story, and I think that's what they're looking for, right? So yeah.
Okay, thank you all so much. And, thank you, of course, to our panelists and to Gonzalo. And, we are here, echoing what the sentiment of the panelists. The admissions office is definitely here to help and will offer any advice, walk you through the process. Anything that you need, please do feel free to reach out to us. Again, there's a virtual Q&A later today if you want to get a little bit more specific information. Or please do feel free to sign up for a talk with one of us in the admissions office, and we're happy to walk you through any parts of the process and to talk about your application specifically. So with that said, thank you to everyone, and we will hopefully be in touch, see your application, and see you at future events.
Thank you all.
Bye, everybody. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much.